The Ruff family came from Bar, near Strasbourg, in Alsace. My father, Johann Jakob Sr., was born there in 1783. Father knew the Inspirationists in Strasbourg for a number of years. En route to Switzerland in January 1832, the brethren arrived at our guest house. They were Brother Gottlieb Ackermann, Martin Bender, and the Werkzeug Christian Metz. They asked for a room and for Father to join them. They invited him to visit their community in Germany. He accepted, arriving at the Ranneberg in March. He officially joined the community during a prayer assembly. Since Father had long separated from the church, many people opposed him. The minister and the mayor caused much of this. Over the years, we had also been frequently robbed by local thieves. The mayor was oftentimes not available to hear the report. Upon leaving, we had to sell everything at a very low price. The mayor ended up bidding low on our home and moved in soon afterwards. Father often related how sick of worldly affairs he was since his spiritual awakening. He experienced and endured much during his life and would tell of the terrible times during the French Revolution. Everyone feared everyone else, and the possibility of betrayal and then standing trial were very real. Sunday worship had ceased, and every 10th day was observed in the churches by discussing worldly things. Later, he was conscripted into Napoleon's army, serving for several years as an orderly because his right elbow was lame. He did not fully appreciate this until his awakening. He participated in Napoleon's invasion of Spain in December of 1808 and spent a half a year there. Remembering Alsace, our trip to the Arnsburg stood out. We traveled on the Rhine and then by wagon and arrived safely in April 1832. We were the first family to occupy the cloister Arnsburg. It had recently been abandoned, but now was leased by the Inspirationist Community. Later, through the inspired word by Christian Metz, it was rechristened the Amana, or Castle of the Poor. Here we met several of the elderly brethren. They had come from the Ranneberg to prepare several rooms for us. The Ranneberg Castle had to be vacated, and its members gradually arrived, so that we soon became a community. Life was difficult in the beginning. There was no income because the community had rights only to the buildings and the large garden, which was divided up among families. Yet it was a beautiful place, and we felt very much at home there. I spent my school years and youth there. We opened a small store. Following my school years, I helped my father as a delivery boy. It was now God's will that we emigrate. I had spent 12 years at the Amana and was 16 at the time. A few of the brethren undertook the journey ahead of us to buy land in New York State and named it Ebenezer. We left the Amana at 1 a.m. in May 1843. This early departure was meant to get us through the neighboring villages without attracting attention. We arrived in the village of Friedberg before noon, where the elderly and children had already gone the day before. Then we left for Frankfurt, and from there by boat down the main river to Mainz. The next day we continued down the Rhine to Cologne and to Antwerpen, on the third day arriving there in the evening. On May 11th, we left on the ship Florida, and with God's help, after a 5-week journey, we arrived in New York. On June 19th, we boarded a steamboat for Albany, arriving there the next morning. In the evening, we took the train to Buffalo, arriving on the 23rd to our great joy. We thanked our dear God that He brought us to our new home under His protecting care. We came to Middle Ebenezer, where our family resided until we moved to Iowa. Here in New York, hard labor again awaited us because the land was mostly virgin timber. Seneca Indians still lived on the land for another 2 years. The land was cleared for raising grain for bread and other needs. This was our primary mission, besides building homes. In September 1844, I was assigned to Brother Philip Roth to learn cabinet making. After 4 years, I was called to be one of the community's teachers. Here the path was much narrower because Brother Christian Metz spoke many inspired testimonies, and the teachers had to record them. I was also selected to move in with Brother Christian and lived in the same room with him for 2 years because occasionally he became inspired during the night. I also became aware of some of the trials he had to endure. This caused me great discomfort at times. The teachers were constantly rotated in this position, and when my time came to leave, I found parting very difficult, for he had shown me true brotherly love. As a teacher for 8 years, I lived in all of the communities, including Canada Ebenezer and Kennebec, and was therefore not with my parents. In 1855, several brothers journeyed to Iowa and began purchasing land. In July, the first contingent left to make the beginnings in our new home, Amana. Others followed until I too left Ebenezer in February 1856 and made the journey on a freight train. In one car, we had horses and wagons for Amana. We were 5 persons in all. The cold winter made it a hard journey, and we often stopped and then got stuck in the snow. There was almost a constant snowstorm, and there was little to eat. Finally, after the difficult 14-day trip, we reached Amana in the evening, March 13th. After the weather broke, we could begin building homes. This now became my occupation. This new beginning was difficult, but somewhat easier than Ebenezer. Living space was extremely limited. 12 young brothers were cramped into a small block house, but we were contented and gladly performed our work. And so God helped us day by day, and I remained there for over a year. In August 1857, lightning struck Brother Jakob Schnetzler's home in South Amana, killing him. This was a hard blow to his parents and the entire community. South had just been laid out, and he lived in the first communal kitchen. Later that month, I was ordered to move to South to take over his duties as carpenter and cabinet maker. We had a few houses built and ready for occupancy by the end of fall. I lived alone for several years in Canada Ebenezer, and the same held true here in Amana, often struggling by myself, especially during those hard early years. My sisters had their hands more than full caring for our aging parents in Ebenezer. Eventually, I promised myself to Filipina Bortz. My parents gave their consent, providing the elders were in agreement. At the elders' request, Filipina spent the year of waiting in High Amana. She soon moved and worked in the communal kitchen run by the Murbach sisters. In the spring of 1862, Middle Amana was laid out, and I was sent there. On May 1st, 1862, we were married in South Amana. Filipina's parents were able to attend, but my family was still in Middle Ebenezer. We moved to Middle Amana in August, into the first house to be finished. 5 families lived in it at one time. A small house across the street served as communal kitchen until the first one was completed yet that fall. Middle was the last of the communities to be settled, so the other villages all pitched in because Ebenezer was to be vacated as soon as possible. Middle Amana was essentially completed in 2 years. Finally, in October 1863, My elderly parents arrived in Amana to our great joy. I hadn't seen them for almost 8 years.